Hi, good afternoon, guys. So my name is Nine. I'm the co-founder of Symmetry. I'm also a fellow Thai here. So it's a pleasure for us to welcome you to my home country and my hometown, which is Bangkok. So really excited to be here. So yeah, straight into my talk. So as you can see from the talk title, it's about ecosystem development. So what I do at Symmetry is basically we help chains to onboard more builders and users from Thailand. So I figured this would be a good topic to touch on given Devcon. So what exactly is ecosystem building? So ecosystem building is basically a two marketplace, right? So side marketplace. So when you're building chains, you need both builders and users. And you need both at really strategic timings. A chain cannot function with one or another. So it's basically a chicken and egg problem. But actually, if you actually look at the data, if you actually go down and dig into the history and how each ecosystem came about, whether it's Ethereum aligned or not, out EVMs, whatever that may be, what's actually the key is builders, not users. And what I mean by that is, if you think about your typical user journey, right? When you try out new chain, why did you actually go to that new particular chain? Why do you actually go to Arbitrum? Why would you actually go to Optimism, Base, whatever that may be? Because maybe you went there to try a new flagship app, a net new application that you would like to use, which wasn't present anywhere else in another chain. These applications would then therefore define the chain identity. So if you think about Optimism, obviously the word public goods pop into mind. If you think about Arbitrum, probably DeFi. If you think about Base, probably consumer. But how do we actually onboard these great app builders? So we need to think about what builders actually want. What do builders want, right? So they want to onboard more users at lower customer acquisition costs, or CAC. And how can chains help them do that? So there's two ways. You either help builders onboard users directly, or you give builder more resources so that they can do more within that chain, which and effectively lower CAC from them. So how do we actually do that? We actually see two successful approaches on the chains that we work with. First, you onboard net new users or liquidity directly to the chain itself. A great example of this is Mantle. So what Mantle did, instead of going circle jerking around and onboarding the same set of users and liquidity, what they did is they partnered up with a firm called Alpha, and they helped onboard idle BTC liquidity on chain by creating structured products around them, such as FBTC, which is quite interesting. And I think this is a good way to onboard net new liquidity into the chain, which is more helpful for builders. Another way is to do directed campaigns. So if you think about like a new chain launching out, you have all these new applications you can try on, right? What's best and optimal for both the chain itself and also the builders building on that chain is to help direct user activity onto these applications. So a good example might be Linear Park or even Blast Season 2. But if you go into that, there's also a couple of different frameworks on how a chain can actually support builders in a more hands-on manner. And you often see this sort of dilemma play out into different ecosystems that you see out there, especially the L2s. There's the curation approach and the education approach. For curation, you're just working with select number of builders or select teams and just doubling down on them. And then on the other end of the spectrum, you have all these chains who are focusing on education, giving workshops, doing things across the globe. And the truth be told is, there's no right and wrong answer. It's more of a dynamic answer to this particular question. And it's important for a chain to double down on certain teams and builders to build those first set of great applications. And once you do that, then you transition out and then you onboard more builders. You become more inclusive. So you need to transition once your ecosystem matures. Some creative tactics. I'd like to highlight three here. So there's the Scout program, similar to AWS, if you're familiar. So you have other people giving out grants on your behalf, which helps provide reach. You have trickle-down incentives, like big bang competition to trickle-down incentives from the chain level down to apps. You also have retroactive programs like Optimism Retro PGF or Circuit Build to Earn to provide retroactive rewards for builders generating activity on chain. But what if my chain is pre-TGE? How do I fund these apps? What you can do is you can partner up with VCs to set up tokenless ecosystem fund structure, or you can curate deals, help your projects fundraise you might not need a token. You might need to help them to find resources, find a network, and put these ecosystem projects out there. And to wrap it up, what about Southeast Asia? How do we actually penetrate this region? I would say three key things. Localization is key because you need to be aware about languages, cultures, and various differences. You need to have continuation. Building mindshare is always filled with these noise from other ecosystems, chains out there trying to onboard more builders. So how do you actually maintain that spotlight in a continuous manner? You need to have consistency. And lastly, you need to allocate time to do proper due diligence with like the people that you're working with and the local partners that you have, because you have asymmetry information in language and whatnot. So that's also another thing. But all in all, the DevRel is in the detail, because ecosystem building is a multidisciplinary challenge with DevRel, marketing, ecosystem, and all that stuff. So you need cross-functional teams who constantly iterate. So yeah, that's basically it to the end of my talk. So just to wrap it all up, I just want to say thank you for your time for listening. Hope you learned a lot from it. And also, as a fellow Thai, welcome to Bangkok. Solidify.
Thank you very much, Nine. Any question for Nine? Any interesting question about community building?